In this video, we're going to focus on a semi-waterfall chart, but what the focus will be is on the dates here. You can see we have all these dates on the time series except for the last bar, which is eventually a total item, which shows here as well the total of the week, and have text instead of a date. So let's start to explore how to do this. So let's look at how we can add an additional total bar in the time scale axis in the waterfall chart. So this basically came from a specific question where you get an image of this. Well, I will not work on how to do this and these numbers, but I can make one if there's a specific request for it. Although I do have a video about a waterfall chart with the lines and the color coding. However, the real focus will be on this total bar. The question was, if you have here these dates, and these are specifically dates, and then you have a total at the end of the week, how do we add this total which doesn't require is a date? Because basically this is the information of the total what happens here. So let's start to explore how to do this right now. What I'm going to do here first of all is to get a default code which is in chartjs3.com, getting started. This specific link you can also find in the description box. Scroll down and then just copy this entire chunk of code here. If you want to understand what this code does, make sure you watch this video here, it explains it all. So we're going to grab all of that code, we put it in there, and then what I want to do here, put that in here, save that, refresh. Alright, so now I have this, and what I want to do quickly is to create a so-called waterfall chart. So I'm going to scroll down here, and then I'm going to just add up here some data. So to create a waterfall chart, or in Chartjs they call it a floating bar chart, what I want to do here is basically create an array. I'm going to grab this data. Well, let's start at 0 here, 0 to 18, comma, and then we have here the next one which would be 18, 12, comma, and then maybe if I just copy all of this multiple times, there we are. Then here, this will be 12, this one will be 6, this will be 6, this will be 9, this will be 9, and then one was 12. I'm just following here along the pattern. It will be 12 and 3. And finally we have 9, and then let's put the 9. I'll make this very extensive, make it 30. Alright, save this, refresh. So now we have this here, and then what we could do here, maybe a border skipped. Let's say here, comma. The border skipped equals false. Save, refresh, now they're all here. Final one is, let's change the color. I will not focus on the color, just give it one nice color here. There we are. So this looks beautiful, but now what I want to do is I want to add up a new value in here, or a new item. Oh, but before we can do that, we need to have here the date adapter. So what I'm going to do here is the following. I go here, basically, if you want to figure out where I went basically into awesome. Let's see here, it doesn't show here. Awesome, let me double check. What we need to do is we need to go to chartjs.org, then here to ecosystem. When we go to ecosystem, you see a Chartjs awesome. That's basically the item where you find all the plugins. You can see the sunglasses here. Scroll down here, look for the adapters, click on that, and you have here 3 options. Don't use this one here. This one has been deprecated, means it doesn't mean updated anymore since 2020. So ignore that one. You have Luxon or DateFNS. I recommend you DateFNS if you don't need to do any adjustments with the features from DateFNS. Why? Or at least for me personally, I noticed that I struggle a bit to understand them, while Luxon is easier for me to use. However, in our case, I want to use DateFNS because this only requires 1 JavaScript file, while the Luxon requires 2. So 1 is better than 2. So that's why I'm going to use that. So I don't use anything of the DateFNS features, except just add up a JavaScript file. We scroll down here, get this one here, which is the Chartjs adapter DateFNS bundle. Copy that. Then what we're going to do here, scroll up here, just under the JavaScript library, put in this library here, the DateFNS bundle, refresh, nothing happens yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this now. So scroll down here on the x-axis, then what I'm going to say here, this will be the type, and the type equals type, comma. Then we say here the time object, because we have it now assigned here. Then we're going to say here unit, and this unit here equals the, well, not the date, but the day. I just want the date, Monday, Tuesday, etc., etc. Comma here, or in this case, not even the date, but the number of the day, 22, 23, etc., etc., in February. So in here, 2022, 02, and then let's say 22 Feb. I'm now going to give this all individual numbers once I add them all. So I say here 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. Save, refresh. Alright, so now we have this, and what I want to do now, I want to add up a new item here, which will be a cosmetic trick, by the way. So that will mean that it will be a date, but we will show it or display it as a total. Let's just say like a total of the week. I'm going to scroll down here, and just below here, I'm going to say here add items. So add a new bar or the total bar. So what I'm going to say here, first thing is I'm going to add up a date. So this will be just constant total label equals what will be the day after that. So let's say 22, 03, and 1. Why? That's March, because 28 is here, the last one of February. Enter this, and then what we're going to do here, I'm going to say here, I want to push this item. So basically what we're going to do is just going to use an array feature. We're going to push it from here in this constant, which starts at data.labels. So we're going to do that. Say data.labels.push. What are we going to push? This item here. Save, refresh. There we are. So now we have a new item here, but it shows March. Don't worry, we're going to adjust that later on. But what I want to get now is basically, you can see here these brackets. We have two values. So I want the top value and the lower value here. Very similar to this. Although here it will get what we call the value, and what we could do here, and probably I have to make a separate video for that, is how we can calculate that one. So because we need to calculate then how to get this negative value here. But let's start to focus just on how we can get this specific bar. So what I'm going to do here is the following. And then what I'm going to say, where? Oh, that's here. Constant. And in this constant here, I'll just say here, this is the total. And the total would be, well, what we can do here, oh well, we can do the following maybe. We first get the data, which is the data, and then we go to data sets, and then dot data to get the information. So we say data sets, and then we have this index 0 because we only have one data set, and then we say here dot data. So this will be our, or we can say here constant data length equals this, and we say here dot length. So this will give us the length of the item here, which is still 7. So that's fine, and then we're going to push that later on. So what I need more is the following. I'm going to say here now, let's say here in our data.datasets data, I'm going to say the following dot push, and then here what I need is the following. What I want to do is this. Basically I want to add up here another item with this, except it will start at 0 and end at 30. So that's what we need to do here. But that will mean that we need to make an array here, and within this array we have another array, basically array of the specific data, because we need to get the position to get first 0. So we say first data 0, index 0, and then in here we have again one of these two. So if you're basically confused, I understand. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. This is what I need. Let's get this. Data 0, 0. If I do now console log, because probably if I show this, it will be very clear. Save, refresh, open up the developer tab. Now we get in the 0 value, which is on this one here. That's correct. If I would do here the same, but I want to get, for example, I want the last value, I need to say not 0. Here 0 is fine, but this one is number 1. Save. Then you have here 0 and 18. Alright? So basically this is an array in an array. So that's why it is like this. But now what I need here is not even this. I need here the last one here, which would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need here number 6. If I do this, refresh, 0 and 30, we get here the value. So this is what we call the last item. So what we can do here is we grab this length. That's why we have this length. But this length is 7. Why? Because there's 7 items, but a array is count or starting to count at 0. So we need to say here -1. put in this here, put that in there, save that. If I refresh, we still get the same values. Alright, so that's correct. So now, all I need is basically go back in here. I'm going to grab this value and put this value. Alright, don't get confused here. Basically, it's like this. Maybe what I will do is, just to make it easy, constant start value equals, and then here another one, constant end value equal. There we are. Put that in here and put that in there. So now it's easier and basically better to read for us. Save that, refresh. There we are. So now we get the final value here. But what I don't like is, of course, look at the tooltip. It still shows March. Look at the bottom here. It still shows March. So let's start to adjust that as well. So to do that, let's play with the tooltip first. We're going to adjust that one. I'm going to scroll down here in the options. And I'm going to say here plugins. And in the plugins here, I'm going to say tooltip. Oh, tooltip, spell it correctly. And then within here, we're going to use what we call a callback. So I'm going to say here tooltip callbacks. Pay attention here. This is callbacks with an S. Make sure you have a comma here. And then in here, what I want to do now is I want to grab what exactly. This is what we call the title. This here is what we call the label or the data for the body label. Now this is the title. So we're going to adjust the title here. And how will we adjust this? Well, if we know the index value of this item, we can adjust the title easily. So that's what we're going to do here. So in here, I'm going to say here title, and I'm going to say here context. And just for now, just to show you what is in the context, we'll console log here, save, refresh. Alright, so now if I hover over, you can see here the data disappears, but what we do get is this information here. So if I hover on this one, let me refresh one more time. Over here, click on this, you can see here the following. You get here the data index number 7, which is, so it's 0 and then number 7 here. This is very important because this information tells us where, which one we can pinpoint. So we can filter out if it is not 7, in that case, show the default date information. So how we get the default date information? Well, we have that here in the label. You see here label March. So that's what we're going to do here now. So I'm going to say here context index 0, and then we say here label. But what I want as well is the, what was that, the data index as well. Save that, refresh. So if I hover over it, there we are. I get March, all the information here. All this information will be filtered out because of this here. So don't worry about that. So we will only eventually extract this specific item. So what I want to do now is a very simple if statement. And this if statement will have the following. And before I even do that, what I will say here, let's say a constant, or not even constant, a let value for the label. Because what I'm going to do is if our context label, or sorry, context data index equals strict, then we have here basically the length. If I'm not mistaken, it was very similar to this. Length of that, -1. If this is true, oh, maybe this one is not allowed because this might have an impact of the older information, because afterwards we're going to push it, so this might be a conflict. So what I'm going to do here is, well, we can probably make another one here. We can calculate that, or maybe we can see here. Do we have any other information? No, that's alright. What I'm going to do is, let's see if this one works. So let's do that one. The reason why I'm doing that, let me show you. Let's console log this for now. Save. Alright, so this is number 6, as you can see here. So that will become a problem. So what I need to do here, number 6, what I need to do then, I guess we can just grab this again. Just for now, I should maybe have something better, but that's alright. So I'm going to save this. We'll grab again the new data, and if I do this, move over it, you can see here number 8. Why number 8? Because this one here doesn't push yet, and afterwards it will be pushed, and it's still -1. So here, number 8, -1, make it 7. If I save that, refresh, we get 7. Alright. So this is very important because now we get here, because the context data index is number 7 as well. Is this, let's say here, label or tooltip length equals this constant. Copy this here. Alright, so make sure this is am I correct? Length, that looks very weird spelled, that's the way, sorry. Alright, so if this is the case, in that case what I want to do then is I want to say the label will be equal to let's say here in this case the label equal to total or week total, whatever. Alright, so then else, and here if this is not the case, so it's not the last item, in that case the label will be, let's copy that, and here we had well, remember this, copy this, and I'm just going to say here label, that was the one. So once this is the case, I say here return label, save, refresh. Alright, so there we are. You can see here we get the date, and here we get the week total. Beautiful. So now what I want to do is final one is just down here, and the methodology is identical. So what I'm going to do here, but now specifically on the X scale, because we still want to adjust the labels on the X scale. So in here, I'm going to put a comma, and in this comma here, let's say here the same thing. I'm going to say here this should be a callback as well, and then we have to do that in the ticks, and here pay attention here because this is a callback without the S. This one is with S, the ticks is without S. So then I'm going to say here, I'm going to use 3 parameters to get the values, or the value, index, and the ticks. Then we have here a arrow function expression, and then let's do a console log. Show the value, what do we get here, so you have understanding. Alright, you get all these values here. Of course now it disappears here because we didn't return anything, but you can see here we get all the values. And what I need to do here is basically the same as up. So probably you have even the index here, so index will show us the value, or the index value, which makes it easy for us. And finally you have the ticks. Save, refresh. So you can see here the ticks. It shows here length 8 over 0, but the length is 8. So it does recognize in the callback, it recognizes the value, but eventually shows you this. Don't worry, this length is important for us, and we have our index. So we can easily compare here. Very similar to this. So what we can do here, basically we can copy almost that structure. What I'm going to do here, first of all the ticks, dot length, save, refresh. Alright, you can see here it recognizes the number 8. So that's the first thing. So what I'm going to do here is simply this. I'm going to say here, or we can say here, let tick, I guess, or maybe we just give it a tick name to avoid any confusion. And I'm going to create here an if statement as well. Similar to this, so I'll just copy most of this for now. And afterwards we're going to work on that. Just put it in there. And then of course this here is the index, which is already here. We already have this number, so we can put it in here. And you have here the length, so we're going to copy this, put it in there. And then we say tick name is this, tick name is that. Then here, if the tick name is this, then what I want to do here is I want to grab the value, which is the name. Put it in there. And then here, tick name, save, refresh. Alright, surprisingly it didn't work yet. So what I need to do here is, of course, so y, same mistake as previously up, -1. So I'm going to say here, constant, tick length equals that. Copy this, and we're going to put it in here. Save, refresh. There we are. So now we have the numbers, and then we have here the week total, and here as well week total. And this is basically the way how you can create a custom item here to make this. And of course, here we will be able to calculate as well. There's a way for that. Basically with, if you're wondering how, that's based on this number here at the very end, if it will be up or down compared to this. So that's a very important one. If there's a request for this one, let me know. I will make a separate video for that. And if you enjoyed this video and maybe you want to have, for example, also the lines here, the colors, etc., etc., I have this entire video series here, or this video here, which creates a waterfall chart with connector lines, showing these lines here nicely. So if the numbers, like this one here, if there's a request for numbers, let me know in the comment section. I will make a separate video for that as well.